Awesome. So I am so honored and privileged to welcome the beautiful Michelle Lewis back again. Sorry, I've got some noise happening here. Just wait one second. Can you shut that door for me, please? Thank you. Uh, sorry, my internet is much better upstairs, and I have everyone here having dinner right now. So reconnecting your body's communication system. So hormones and frequencies. We've seen Michelle before on our trainings, and we're really honoured to welcome her back. So Michelle, I am going to hand it over to you for you to take it away and share your amazing wisdom with us this evening. Thank you so much for being here, and you'll be able to share a bit about yourself, won't you? Because I didn't get your bio before we started.
I've sent it to, yeah, I sent it, and now I've just got to find it, but I'm not going to bother.
Okay.
I'm just going to talk, I suppose.
Yeah.
Do I need to share my screen too?
Yeah, I'll stop my share if you like, and you can pick it up where I've left off if you like.
Oh, all right.
Um,
I want to
oh,
share.
are you
Oh,
co-host? No, yeah, you are. You're co-host, so you're able to share?
I can do, it says multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Yep, I've just stopped to share, so hopefully you'll be able to now.
It's not giving me the option to share my screen.
Okay.
Uh,
Is it under more?
Maybe more.
Yeah, if you click more, can you see
Yep.
more on your, yep, and then up the top it says share, I think maybe?
No,
No?
I've still got the share icon. When I click on it, it gives me the option of one participant or multiple participants, which multiple is ticked.
Okay.
Um, but it just
Let me just
doesn't.
make you host then. I'm going to make you
Oh,
host.
here we go. All right, which one do I want? I want that one. Let's share
I
that
got
one.
it?
Yeah. No.
Yay! Gotta
Can
love
you see
technical things, don't we?
that?
My
Uh,
specialty, not. All right, I'm going to hand it over to the beautiful Michelle, and she's going to tell us all about herself. But thank
it's
you.
my
And
favourite.
yes, I'll let you know if there's
Okay.
any questions that are coming through as we go through, okay?
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
I have an interesting background, I suppose. And the last one I did, the last presentation was a little bit heavy on details and depth. So I thought, oh, I'll just back it back a little bit. I don't know how it's going to go, but I was a medical scientist and I did some forensics as well for more years than I care to count. And then after I had a couple of burnouts, I went into kinesiology. I learnt to become a kinesiologist, but at the same time was doing human design and medical astrology. And I weave them all together and do my magic that way. That's the best way I can say it. Everybody has different modalities. It's what you bring to it. I'm fortunate that I have a brain that just wants to learn. I'm very curious about things, and especially when they're relevant. As I'm on the post-menopause side now. I'm just going to go through tonight of the hormones because a lot of women actually don't understand their hormone cycles or what they were supposed to be doing, or the perfect textbook cycle, which doesn't exist, by the way, because we're all different. So that's me. Oh, and I came to AO Scan when I won a raffle, which Ali, who's on the call tonight, had a gift voucher in there to come and try out. It was, well, I think it was an inner voice and a balance of chakras and meridians. And because that's what I studied, I was like, oh, this will be interesting. Let's go along and have a go at this. And yeah, when Ali showed me that part of it, and then we went into the vital section, it was like looking at a frequencies of the vitals, which is just cemented everything from my pathology background. So it was like, oh, like I know why certain tests are ordered, and then it was good to see. It helps with like root cause analysis is what I want to say. So I was hooked. I was like, I'm in for this. So we'll just go through now. If you've got any questions, please ask away. Hormones. So hormones in general are just about communication. They normally are released from a gland and go into the blood, and that's why we call them endocrine hormones. And they'll go to whichever site of the body and deliver, as it says here, they deliver instructions, they keep your metabolism, your mood, and your energy balanced. They respond to stress, sleep, and the environment. With frequencies, it's about the signal strength of those hormones. And so when your hormones seem to be losing vitality, the messages aren't getting through properly, and that's when you'll start to see a lot of symptoms. Wasn't probably the easiest way I was trying to explain is the main players. So women have predominantly estrogen and progesterone in their cycle, but we also have testosterone, which not a lot of people give much credit to, but when he goes, you really notice it. This is a very simple diagram, I want to say, to illustrate the different sections of your cycle. You have pretty much in the first part of your cycle, estrogen is the star player who wants center stage. And in the second half, this is actually not to scale. If they actually drew progesterone and estrogen to scale, progesterone would be sitting up here. So when people see this, they go, oh yeah, it looks pretty even, but it actually isn't. Progesterone would be sitting right up here. And I'll go into that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But they are also, so estrogen is your energy, your brain, and your metabolism. Like we talk about estrogen and progesterone being two sisters from the same mother with totally different personalities, is the way to describe them. So estrogen's like your cheerleader. She's got the energy. She's the party animal that, she's going to work all day. She's going to party all night. She's just going to keep on going. Progesterone is not like that. It is calming. It wants to rest, and it wants to prepare your body to have the calmness to go through your menstruation and your detoxification. Testosterone, you'll see, just has a little blip here. It sort of comes right in on ovulation to help push things along, to release the egg, and that's what we'll get to in a minute. Predominantly where your estrogen and progesterone and testosterone come from is the ovaries. Pardon me. I didn't like the 4 phases, but hey, let's go with it. The follicular part of your cycle is this first part where estrogen is rising, and it rises because the follicle stimulating hormone from your pituitary gland sends a signal to your ovaries to say, ooh, we've got this egg here and we want to develop it. We want to make it grow. And in the process of that, if this was a correct thing, you'd actually have little arrows pointing up here for the FSH because it pulses. It actually is not like a linear amount. It pulses. So it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. And it's just telling the follicle to mature, to create all this estrogen in the egg. You feel really sharp. You have lots of good clarity. Estrogen's fairly resilient is what I want to say. It can combat stress quite well. The thing with estrogen, it does not like insulin. So my last topic, I was talking about insulin resistance and how most of us are insulin resistant to some degree. So if you can work on that, you will make your menopausal journey a lot less bumpy, is what I want to say, because estrogen does not like insulin at all. It can't perform, it can't do the things it needs to do when insulin is high. Sorry, I keep looking over here because I've got a picture of Aulia over here. My head's moving around. At ovulation, you've got a peak of estrogen and you've got testosterone, which is not on this graph, comes in as well. It's like your kick-ass. You can do bloody anything in this stage. When they're all running on tune and on time, you're invincible. You're like, you can just go and go and go and do and do and do. But it only lasts for a couple of days. You've probably got a window of about 3 or 4 days. Then you've got what you call your luteal phase, which is named after the LH here, which is luteinizing hormone, and that's this big blue one. That big push from your pituitary gland tells your body that you need to release this egg, that your ovaries have to release it and get it into your uterus for growing a baby. And then you've got the last part of it, which is your menstrual part, which tends to be day 1 to day 7. Your day 1 to day 7 is actually your menstruation, is actually when you bleed, and you count it from the first day of your bleed. Okay, probably should have kept this on all the slides because it's a really interesting graph. The next one, your hormonal life stages. I love this graph. It's a graph of progesterone and the levels of estradiol. So estrogen we have 3 estrogens. There's estradiol, which is what we have from our ovaries and is mostly in our fertility parts of our life. We have estriol, which is what you produce when you're pregnant. And then you've got estrone, which is the estrogen that we have in postmenopause, because the eggs stop producing. And when we stop producing eggs, we don't have access to this overflowing amount of estrogen and progesterone anymore. So we look at it as here, this section here, this teens, where we're in puberty, you see we're getting an increase of progesterone till it gets to this stage. We're also getting an increase in estrogen. So we've got a fluctuation between we're moody, we've got heavy periods, we've got all of the symptoms that you have when you're in puberty, is pretty much what happens over here in perimenopause. So we'll go through the cycle of increasing these hormones to this stage, your fertility, which, by the way, can take between 10 to 12 years to even out, if people weren't aware of that. So trying to have kids is something that, I mean, like I got my period when I was 12, so that's saying from 22 to 24 is when my periods would have started to even out, been more regular, but there's a whole other things that can counteract those. Then you have your fertility years, and then towards the end of those fertile years, your reproductive years, you start going into perimenopause, which the biggest thing we notice is progesterone drops very quickly, and quite substantially, and it isn't counterbalanced by estrogen, because sometimes estrogens can be up to 3 times more than what it is normally, and then other cycles it can be non-existent. And it's this roller coaster of because progesterone is like the balancer to estrogen, and so if your estrogen's up here, your progesterone's it can't keep up if it goes too high, and then when it drops low, progesterone can't also, there's not enough of it because it's dropping to counteract those balances. So that's when you start to see all your symptoms. It's this decline and this non-linear decline, I want to say, that we experience in perimenopause. And then menopause, it's quite similar to when you're in childhood. You don't have that. Actually should be a lot flatter, the progesterone, because our body is now trying to recalibrate to not being of childbearing age anymore. We're not built to try and produce an egg and make a baby for the majority of our life. Once we get to this stage, it's more about just us, and it's more about a recalibration of how all those hormones worked. How can we recalibrate our body to not need and be so caught up with what we had here? That's probably not a really good way to say it, but anyhow, estrogen, it's a superpower when it's in balance. It supports your brain and memory, your bone strength, your heart health, gut motility and metabolism. Every single cell in your body has receptors for estrogen. Therefore, that gets affected by your metabolism. So if you have problems with your estrogen and you have problems metabolizing estrogen and clearing estrogen from your body, those metabolites can act like estrogen and take up the receptors in those cells, and you will find you have lots of problems with energy or low energy or actually metabolizing everything in our body. It's also good for skin, hair, and vaginal tissue. That is a big one. When estrogen really drops off in perimenopause and menopause, it thins the tissue, and that's one of the biggest causes of I want to say like vaginal dryness, but also people could start having intimacy issues because they just don't want to go there. So estrogen builds muscles, builds bones, brain health, heart health, maintains your metabolic rate, along with thyroid. The thyroid and estrogen are quite closely linked. It increases breast tissue and it thickens the uterine lining. When estrogen is too high, you can have weight gain because of a different method than, we'll just say we can go with weight gain. You get heavy, painful periods. You can get anxiety, mood swings, tender breasts, bloating, and fibroids and endometriosis. Estrogen is an anabolic steroid hormone. That means it builds things up. So if I go back here, you're trying to build this lining of the uterus to be the best and strongest it can be, so the egg will implant and it will give the best environment to grow a baby. That is really its main function in women. And as much as we want to be, biologically, that's how we're designed to be. When it's too low, you can get irregular periods or no periods. You get weight gain as well, but for a different reason. You can get hot flashes and night sweats, vaginal dryness, sleep problems, and a decreased libido, which also goes along with the decrease that happens with testosterone. The driver for both of these tends to be high insulin and poor detox, which is more about how estrogen gets metabolized in our body, and it's done in the liver. Sometimes you'll see if you do a vital scan or you do an easy scan, you could get phase 2 detox, or usually it's phase 2 detox that can come up, and that just is that your liver is struggling to metabolize and detoxify a lot of I want to say they're drugs, but anything that's chemical in nature has to go through your liver to be what's the word? It has to be metabolized. It has to be cleared. It has to be made into a way that your body can excrete it through one of the 4 or 5 pathways, which is usually your wee, your poo, and your sweat. Progesterone, your calm and sleep. It's made after ovulation, which I'm going to go back here to this beautiful picture. Progesterone comes from the corpus luteum. So this egg is full of estrogen, goes into the uterus, and then the rest of this corpus luteum is jam-packed, chock full of progesterone. That's where it comes from. If you don't ovulate, so if you take a birth control pill, or you take something that stops this episode happening, you greatly reduce all your progesterone, because this is where it comes from. So if you don't actually release an egg, you don't create the corpus luteum, and your progesterone, I want to say, goes to shit. It's the best way to say it. You just don't produce it. So you don't get all these beautiful things and protection and calming and sleep, and the rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system that comes into play here. It's an anxiety buffer. It improves your sleep. It supports GABA. It protects your breast and uterine tissue. It supports your thyroid function. It's very anti-inflammatory, and especially in perimenopause, or if you have hormone imbalances because of taking birth control pills, the symptoms intensify. It's a lot of PMS. There's a lot of heavy bleeding. There's some of the symptoms that you can get with it. It also helps to build bone, but it calms the brain, which reduces anxiety and promotes sleep. Protects the heart, increases your metabolic rate. It supports your immune It thins the uterine lining, getting ready for menstruation, and some studies say it may decrease cancer risk. A lot of doctors, a lot of old school doctors, once you've had a hysterectomy, they don't want to prescribe progesterone because their belief is that progesterone is there to protect the uterus and protect the breast tissue, which is really shitty because I did a post not very long ago about it because I went to my doc because I was like having some sleep issues and calming my nervous system down, and he wasn't at all interested in prescribing any progesterone for me. Made me a little bit mad because he was of the school that, well, you've had a hysterectomy, you don't need progesterone. And I thought, okay, there's a lot of education that has to happen with some of our doctors. Progesterone. On my last presentation, I think I went through a little bit of this, but pretty much when you no longer, like, even if you're cycling, you will still get some progesterone through this pathway from your adrenal glands. But when you become peri and postmenopausal, this adrenal gland works overtime to produce down this pathway your testosterone and your estrogen. And if you are very stressed out all the time and your nervous system is not regulated, you will push it down this pathway, which, oh, it looks great. It looks like you're going to get some progesterone, but you don't, because cortisol will pull it through and will make cortisol from the progesterone. So you end up not having any progesterone and a lot of cortisol because your body's saying you obviously want more cortisol because everything's so stressed and we need to combat that. It's called the pregnenolone steal because these precursors are what can go down to make this pathway, to make your sex hormones, or it can go down this way. So it will say it's just a survival mechanism that has been built into our body. So when we're in a constant state of chronic stress and our nervous system, the sympathetic system is turned on all the time, the run away from the tiger one, pardon me, you will push it all this way. It'll triage. It's like this section here is like in the ER room when the nurses come to you and say, what's going on? And they'll say, right, at the moment, we're trying to run away from like 5 tigers. I've got all these things going on in my life. They go, okay, well, we don't need to make a baby and bring any of that sort of stuff in here. Let's just push it all over here towards cortisol. So getting a hold of and getting to manage your nervous system and regulate it properly and to reduce your stress as much as you can is one of the biggest things that you can do to help your hormones, to help these hormones along the way. When you drop your progesterone, you get PMS and irritability. I've lost track of the number of colleagues and friends that I've had who are late perimenopause into menopause who go, I just want to kill my husband. Like, I just want to yell at everyone because they're all annoying the shit out of me. And that's because you don't have this progesterone. When there's no progesterone, your GABA, which is the calming neurotransmitter that we produce, it's just not there. It's not there in the amounts that we need to actually keep us calm. You'll get your night waking, up between 2 and 4 because cortisol is running the show, and I'm just going to say that's what happens. If you're still cycling, you can get irregular periods and heavy periods, and worrying, overthinking seems to skyrocket because you don't have this GABA, and I want to say you just don't have the soothingness that comes from the GABA. So we also, when you're in postmenopause, you also make your fat cells, your fat tissue, your adipose tissue, will also go down this pathway. It happens as well. So it's not all bad news for having a bit of extra weight. It's just the toxins that we hold in there with the fat as well. Testosterone, we don't talk about it too much in relation to women, but all of these things, all of these symptoms can be just as equally for men, for our men folk. Your libido and your sexual desire, when testosterone drops right off, can take this away with it as well. Your motivation and confidence, your cognitive sharpness and memory, muscle mass and metabolism, and bone strength as well. When it declines, you can get flat moods and stubborn weight that just won't move. And the same again, we get small amounts via our adrenals and our adipose tissue or our fat cells. Pardon me. You can get testosterone supplements when you are postmenopausal. They are not covered by PBS, so they do cost a fair bit. It's just a cream that you can put on. It takes a while because it's also very low concentration. The doctors and the I want to say the Western medicine does not equate it with women needing it as well. Even though when you look back at that other picture, that's testosterone is where we get our estrogen from. Once we become postmenopausal, our hormone pathway is very similar to men. But we don't get the it is not subsidized whatsoever, but it can make a big difference to some people. So just cognitively, that brain fog, and it's a very yang energy. I'm going a little bit energetic here. It's a very yang masculine energy, but we all have it. We all have both masculine and feminine energy inside. And when we lose the drive to do things and the motivation to do things, sometimes this is an area you want to ask your GP or your health provider to investigate. The biggest part with your hormone is detox matters a lot. I don't know how else to emphasize this the most. The detox bucket that we have just gets more and more full in this world that we live in. We are more exposed to a level of toxins that has never been seen by our predecessors. Pardon me, most of your hormones and chemicals are all cleared through the liver to your intestines, and then you poop it out. So you've got bile that comes into play. There's a whole cascade. Like I've got to do a whole thing just on the liver and how it metabolizes your hormones. If we go back to, I don't know if I can, it's a long way back, but let's have a quick look. This section here is where your body's trying to metabolize estrogen. So it means your liver needs to be working like really well in order to go through the two phases. So pretty much anything that comes into your liver that needs to be gotten rid of, it goes through what we call phase one, where it changes the molecule so that it can be made, I want to say, polar. It just means we have to chemically change it so that the body can then do something with it to get rid of it. Sometimes what happens though is our liver is so busy and so caught up. So if you've got fatty liver, you've got insulin resistance, your liver is so busy trying to do other things. It reminds me of and this is showing my age, but Lucille Ball's, you'll see some of the memes where there's like pictures of just imagine this conveyor belt just going and going and going, and you can do things on that conveyor belt, but when you get to a level, shit just starts flying off everywhere because that person is like your liver and it can't process everything that's coming at it, if that makes sense. This section here is where we can run into a bit of trouble as we get older, because when you're young, like your body will offset this level. It's like it'll raise the level in the bucket, this detox bucket, but after a while, your body just goes, Barley's, mate, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't do this at all. And these metabolites, instead of going into the liver and getting converted and getting excreted, they go back into your lymphatic system. They get reabsorbed back into your blood system. And because they look like estrogen, they take up the estrogen receptor spots in the cells. So you can't your body can't use estrogen, even if it was there. And it just leads to a lot of, I want to say, these phases can't They just can't go through. You can't get it out of your body, so it just recirculates. And then you've got lymph problems. There's something called with your gut, the estrobolome is a group of bacteria that they're just there to break down estrogen. That's all their job is to do. But if you have a leaky gut or you have gut issues, you probably don't have the right environment to help the liver to do this detoxification. Does that make sense? I don't want to go too much more into this because this is a bit heavy. Toxin and xenoestrogens. They're everyday disruptors come in, like our plastics. We all know about microplastics, fragrances and cosmetics. I would have to say this is probably one of the biggest ones, was for me. And I see people really not giving this the due diligence, I want to say, as to how much it can actually affect people. Like I was a really sweaty kid. When I played sport, I looked like I was drenched all the time. At school, we had a bright red PE shirt, so I could just look at a running track and I was just like, you get your big sweat circles, and it's those ages too where children, kids are not very nice. And so I was always wearing, like, I was a Rexona girl, and I wasn't just the Rexona, I had Impulse and whatever there was else, perfumes, anything, because you would think, oh God, sweat smells, and I just need to keep wearing this stuff. They're probably some of the biggest things to try and get people to change, but they're also one of the biggest contributors to our personal body, because we're putting it on our skin, and our skin is our biggest organ in our body. Then you've got alcohol, pesticides, and ultra high sugar and processed foods. Detox shows up quite well in the AO scan, and looking at all the different sections of it. When we run your scans, you sometimes see, I always run every day, I will run a hormone panel, and if I'm playing around with certain detoxification protocols that I do, I will run it a couple of times a day, especially because with progesterone and really wanting sleep, sometimes you've got to take a step back and go, okay, why am I not sleeping? Like, what else can I do for my sleep without having to take that actual hormone? And part of that is the detoxing so that everything else works well, but it's also the having all of these excretion pathways open. And then with the sleep, it's like, okay, am I getting up in the morning, getting sunlight in my eyes? Am I paying attention to my circadian rhythms? Because they come into play with your hormones as well. With the detox, you've got your liver. It's the biggest detox organ in your body, but your kidneys also do it because they flush the waste through your wee. Your lymphatic system's like the sewage system of your body. Everything that's crappy, it picks up, tries to get rid of it. But if your pathways aren't open, it will just recirculate it. Your digestive tract works in cahoots with the lymphatic. And then you've got your lymphatic system, which is your brain at night. It's trying to get rid of. So you'll see sometimes on your on the hormone scans, you'll see the things that you can look for. Why did I just go blank then? There's something called adenosine. So adenosine is what builds up during the day just from your metabolism and your hormones, everything running. It's a metabolic waste, and when you sleep at night, the lymphatic system helps to drain that away. Caffeine can be counterproductive here because it takes up those receptor sites for your adenosine. Adenosine also helps to work with your circadian rhythms and your hormones to tell you when it's time for sleep. So about 9 o'clock at night, the adenosine levels get high enough that you go, oh, and it helps to bring melatonin in and helps to drop off that cortisol. Playlist examples. I don't know how I've written this or why I've written this. I've got to probably your metabolic hormone balance. You'd be looking for estrogen specific, I want to say. I mean, there's great ones in the Energy Homeo tab on your AO scanner. So you like your body system support, your neuroendocrine support plus, hers endocrine reproductive support. Any of those would help throughout any part of your cycle. If you wanted to do them specific, you could do things like in your quantum reach, you've got like anything with confidence, self-esteem, coordination, energy and focus are good ones for estrogen. Also, if you can go into the quantum frequency, and if you've got symptoms, you can just put those symptoms into a playlist. Even if you don't know, is this an estrogen problem? Is this a progesterone problem? Is it a testosterone problem? I don't know. But those ones will help to balance you out if you just want like an overall one. The next one is your progesterone support. So anything in like the quantum reach or the quantum affirmations that's to do with calming and sleep are brilliant for your progesterone. And then you've got testosterone is your vitality and confidence. So you could look through, what have I got written here? Concentration, determination and finish, energy, health, strength and recovery, stamina and successful. In your quantum affirmations, you could do energy boost, female enhancement, stress and tension. For all of them, I would advise, like I do a lot of adrenal thyroid support with myself and people, because that just is a really nice play to across the board to help with it. And you can run these, like if you know what your cycle is, you could run estrogen supporting things in the first part of your cycle and more progesterone in the second part of your cycle. And weekly postmenopausal, weekly, you could do them weekly if you're postmenopausal. Have I got? No. The symptoms that you get from your hormones can sometimes lead you to see which one's out of whack, or which one's, month by month as you're going through perimenopause, it will change. It can, and a lot of other things come into play with it as well on a metabolic sort of level. I'll just read through this, but then I'm going to go back to another slide. Your symptoms make sense to you if you understand what's supposed to be happening when. And they can be, your hormones can be supported at any age. If you focus on your gut and your liver, your stress and your sleep, you cannot go wrong. And for like I was talking with Paige, and I do bring in like medical astrology and human design into this, because that can be for me an area where I can guide people to say, you have a lot of areas that maybe your gut is more of the main issue. And so you might not have sleep problems. You might be purely about what's going on in your gut. Or for me, it was my liver. Like since I was a child, I've had problems with the way that my liver works. It's just been overtaxed for most of my life. So doing all the work to clear that, to support that through using the scanner has been amazing. Stress, well, everybody has stress. It's the level of stress and how resilient we are with that stress that will impact everything else as well. And then you've got sleep. So for instance, sleep in a chart that I look at might be something to do with the 12th house, or something to do with Pisces, or looking to see where Neptune is, because all of those things are about sleep. The gut would be more Virgo, I want to say. It's very much, Virgo is about digestion, but it's also about assimilation. It's also how we assimilate, which means how we digest, how we absorb nutrients. And the scanner can work hand in hand with that when you know what you're looking for, if that makes sense. And then you've got your frequencies to help restore the communication. You just think of your hormones are trying to tell you, and so are your symptoms. They're trying to tell you a story. They're trying to tell you, when they can't speak English, this is what's going on. This needs some help and support. And sometimes, like, I'm not pro or anti HRT for people. I would really love people to have bio HRT if they're going to do it, because it's most genetically what similar to what we actually produce or used to produce if you're postmenopausal. For some people, it's a game changer. For some people, it doesn't do anything. So it's a real, I want to say it's a real suck it and see sort of thing. You won't know until if you go down that path and try it for yourself. 7 signs your hormones are trying to talk to you. Irregular periods, your estrogen and progesterone are shifting, or it can be your thyroid impacting. The thyroid is that's a whole other topic on itself. I'm not even going to try it in here. The hot flashes, your estrogen is fluctuating. In perimenopause, it's either going to be, it can be really high, it can be really low. It's usually when it's low that you get the hot flashes. And just as an FYI, fasting is brilliant for estrogen, not so much for progesterone, which is, I'll go back to that one. I'll go back to that. Sleep issues, your progesterone is low, cortisol is high, or the blood sugar is swinging, is usually when you're starting to have problems with your sleep. This is your nervous system. You need to regulate your nervous system. Weight gain can be, it's usually your cortisol and insulin are high. So you've got insulin resistance, you've got high, and when insulin is high, your body cannot burn fat. It will say insulin is just a energy storage hormone. It's just going to grab everything you got when the cortisol is high and says, let's pack this away for later because we might need to run away from other tigers. It won't let you lose weight. Mood swings. Your estrogen and serotonin are linked, and so are progesterone and GABA. I'm just going to leave that bit there because that too is a whole other thing. Hair thinning for some people. Your thyroid hormones are low, testosterone or cortisol are high. I have heard from people that having high testosterone, a lot of PCOS, women who suffer with PCOS have a high testosterone or high androgens is really what we call it. And they can suffer with hair thinning or hair loss. Brain fog. Your estrogen or your blood sugars are low. I am going to go back to this one because I should have had another picture of what was I going to say?
Michelle, just a couple of questions. Do you mind if I just jump in quickly?
Yeah, please.
Most of them are me, but
That's okay.
no, but I will go back to Teresa asked one earlier and she was asking whether something causes SIBO. Teresa, do you remember what specifically that was? Would you mind popping it in the chat just quickly? I can't remember when it was exactly. I should have asked her at that time. Also, I was wondering what specifically in your chart showed you that that you had liver issues, or did it show up in your chart?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I have very big planets. I have a stellium of planets. A stellium means 3 or more planets in one sign. For me, I have Jupiter. Jupiter rules the liver. I have Jupiter conjunct, which just means it's BFFs with the South Node. So South Node is a lot of our, I want to say we talk about it in an astrological way. It's karma that you come into this lifetime with. It's your comfort zone. It's like when you want to step out of your comfort zone, you're moving towards your North Node. But the South Node is like where you retreat when things get bad. You just want to go and hide and regroup. You go back to your South Node. But in a health perspective, it's where we come in with, I want to say, some genetic or some hereditary stuff as well. To top it off, I've got Pluto sitting right on top of it as well, which is genetic, which is DNA, which is also enzymes. And then I also have Uranus, which is it's the planet of unexpected things happening and chaos is what I want to say. So I have all of that sitting in Virgo, Virgo is all about digestion. It's not your stomach, it's your small intestine. So it's where you start to digest everything that you eat. And I just knew from a very early age, like I would be in my 20s and I got to about 22, I think. And I would have half a glass of wine, and you would think I'd had like 3 6 packs of beer because I just couldn't metabolize alcohol properly at all.
Mm.
I hazard to guess I probably had a fatty liver even back then, and I have other things that point to being very sensitive to toxins. Like, because when I first got my period, I was a heavy bleeder off the bat. People would say, "Oh, I've got a period, and it lasts 3 days or 4 days, and I can hardly tell." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I
Mm.
was not that person." So I think even back then my liver was under the pump, and
Yeah.
as I got older. Plus, I also have Mars in Sagittarius, which Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So that just means there's a lot of
So
work that needs to be done
in that, yeah.
in that
And do you
space.
have the MTHFR genetic mutation?
I'm awaiting my results. I'm
Ah,
hopefully getting them this week or next week.
yeah,
I hazard to think I'm more COMT issues,
yeah,
but yes, I'm waiting with bated breath for that
yeah.
to go through it. So
Okay. Just back
yeah,
to Teresa's question quickly.
yep.
She asked whether SIBO would be caused by the toxins and xenoestrogens.
Um, could be because SIBO is pretty much about your gut and the instability of the and the what do you call it? The porosity of it. And like things get out through your gut. But
Mm.
SIBO, I think, is more, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that more to do with the fact that you've got things trying to digest into your large intestine, which should be being digested up in your small intestine? So what
Well,
happens is you've got the wrong
yeah,
bacteria.
overgrowth then. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but yeah, you might be right
Yeah,
with that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Um, we also had a question about fasting for thyroid
yep.
health. So you mentioned that it's not so great for progesterone, but how is it for thyroid? Because I've heard mixed things, and I actually did a massive fast, way too long, um, in an effort to heal my thyroid. But then I got told after that that actually it's probably not that great to do an extended fast. So is intermittent fasting good for it, or?
Yes, it depends. Thyroid is a funny thing with people. And the way that it's tested in a lab is
Oh
because
yeah,
quite
I
often I'll
know.
just, yeah.
I've got
So
a thyroid issue and no one's ever diagnosed it, but I know I do. So,
in what way do you think that you have a thyroid issue?
in what way? Well, first of all, it's hereditary, but I also have, my hair has fallen out forever. The only time it stopped falling out was when I was pregnant. So since I was 16. So that's linked to adrenals, obviously, and stress, as well. Um, but I have a lot of
It's
the other
also
markers
animal.
as well, and I have had for many years. So sleep, um, the extremities, needing to stick my feet out from under the
Yeah.
covers, all of the temperature gauge things like, yeah, it's been an ongoing thing for many years. I have had it under control with the scanner, so I've actually been able to, stop my hair falling out, and reverse a lot of those things, which is a miracle, really, because it's been since I was 16. So, yeah, but it's never been, and constantly comes up on my scanner. All of my
Yeah.
thyroid stuff comes out up all the time on my scanner. So yeah, it's
I'll
been
have a chat to you later on about stuff.
yeah,
Because there's things coming to me. I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting to go through. To
yeah.
answer your first question, fasting is the big long fasts are not recommended for people who have thyroid issues, technically,
Mm.
because if you fast for too many days of not bringing any calories in, and so your body recalibrates to recreate a new metabolic level, I want to say, a baseline. And
Mm.
it's like people who lose a lot of weight, your metabolic rate will drop to accommodate that. But if you are tanking and you're not supporting your thyroid, then when you do put the weight back on, your body still doesn't see that and doesn't change the rate. And so it can have a negative impact on it.
Mm.
But in saying that, a lot of people want to just jump straight in to do the big fast because that's what they want to heal. But
Mm.
there's more work that needs to be done as to the mechanism of why your thyroid is doing that.
Yeah.
Because I know that you can do those extended fasts. It's
Well, I
not
did
recommended.
21 days, which was not good for me in the end. It was great while I was on it. I felt fantastic. I felt bulletproof. But as soon as I reintroduced food, from 11 to 1 o'clock, which is the adrenal, triple warmer
Yeah, the window.
meridian,
Yeah.
right? I was in hell. Like my poor stomach. And Tim said to me, like, don't you ever do that again. It's horrendous. Like I was in so much pain. So I've never done
Yeah.
it again, of course. And then that's when I found out it wasn't a great idea. But anyway, um, yes.
I would say you can. There is a protocol that we can do that can help you to push out your fasts for people that have thyroid. And
Mm,
if you're under advice with someone who's watching you, or you have the scanner and you know what you're looking for to track,
yeah.
understand the root cause of that particular thing, then yes, you can, but
Mm,
it needs to be monitored and you need to yeah, your why for fasting has to be very clear, I want to say.
yeah. Yeah.
Which is
Awesome.
with which is when I was there another question? Because otherwise I'll just
No, keep going. Sorry. Yeah. Someone else said, looks like we might need to do a thyroid talk soon. And getting lots of great content, and yes, everyone's loving it. So keep going. Thank you.
oh no, that's all right. The with the fasting, we I'm a big proponent of it. And I'm a bit the same as you. When I do a longer fast, I feel fantastic. But you have to understand that your adrenals and your thyroid both work together for your metabolism to work. But then I would also look in someone's chart and go, okay, where's Venus sitting? And where's Taurus? Because in medical astrology, we pretty much slice the body into 12 different sections, and each section is under the rulership or governorship of a sign. So Taurus is your lower jaw down to the bottom of your throat. And there's your thyroids, there's your vocal cords, there's your throat chakra. There's all this stuff that's sitting in there, but they also are ruled by, so the brain is Aries. So if you know any Aries people, they're very fiery, it's fast, it's let's just get in there and get shit done sort of stuff. And because it controls the brain, that's where your pituitary is, that's where your hypothalamus is in your brain. They're the things that actually control the release of your hormones. They all sit in what we call feedback loops, which means they work on in your blood levels are detected. If they detect no, I'm not going to get this will turn into a thyroid. Okay. We make T4, our body converts it to T3 because T4 is inactive. We need our bodies to work and metabolically be sound to convert it to T3 so that we have energy. So like every cell in your body can get going and the mitochondria can work. It goes back to the mitochondrial energy. When we're fasting here, estrogen loves fasting. Estrogen loves it because when you fast, you stop eating food, you stop introducing the sugar. You're trying to get your body to use fat to make ketones for energy. When it does that, estrogen's like, oh, it loves it. It really, really does love it. But at the same time, your liver has to be working correctly, efficiently, to do that, because that's where that happens. If it can't do it, then no amount of fasting is going to, it's not going to not help, but you want to keep your insulin levels low, and then that's a whole other section. On the converse side of that, progesterone, she no like fasting. because progesterone needs glucose, and when I say glucose, it means it needs sugar. And I don't mean like how many of us would remember like the week before your period, you just want to sit on the couch, you want to watch some soppy movies, and you want to eat a bucket of ice cream, or you want to eat that packet of chocolate biscuits. Your body's craving the sugar to help manufacture progesterone and manufacture GABA. Like it wants you to calm the hell down. But, and this is a side adjunct, but exercise is the same. Like estrogen, you can just go, go, go. Like I said, she's a cheerleader. She wants to, she's got the energy to do all the HIIT workouts, the cardio, all the I want to say the heavy stuff that makes you sweat. But when you get to this bit and you're trying to trying to push progesterone to come into the fore, you want to do more things like walking, you want to do yoga, you want to do Pilates, you want to do things that aren't as strenuous, because you want cortisol down and you want a little bit more glucose. So fasting is not recommended in the second part of your cycle. If you know your cycle, fasting is not recommended in the second part of it, and especially not the week to 10 days before your period. As soon as you get back here to the start of your period, it's like flatline for your hormones. And so this is where we would do some bigger fasts, although some people are different and they actually need an extra couple of days of eating differently. And want to say like this would be more your ketogenic sort of diet. So you're trying to keep carbs quite low, because carbs increase insulin, and then estrogen is like, it's not quite the best environment for me. Whereas progesterone's like, yep, give me that sugar. Give me those carbs like potatoes, sweet potatoes, root vegetables, berries, things like that can help. I don't know. Is that enough on fasting? Is
No,
there
that's
anyone got
awesome.
questions around that, or?
That's really awesome. Thank you. I don't think there's any more questions. We've had a few comments. Oh, let me see. Um, Nancy was just saying she got a terrible headache at 40 hours into her fast. Just saying her liver
Who was
struggled,
that, sorry?
obviously. Sorry.
Who was that, sorry?
Nancy. Yeah, she just said that she
Where's
had,
Nancy?
yeah.
Nancy's down
Um,
here.
but yes, it definitely can trigger that sort of stuff, can't it? I wonder, Nancy, if you knew where you were in your cycle, because it may have been that you were in the wrong part of your cycle. When you say longer fasts, Michelle, what do you mean? Like the 3 day kind of ones, or are you talking longer
The
than that?
3 day max.
Yeah,
There's different schools of thought on it. My body particularly likes a longer fast is considered for most people more than 24 hours.
yeah,
So
okay.
once you go over 24 hours, everything changes in your gut and your alimentary canal. And so you need to then give it more support and love when you refeed. Because
Yeah,
everyone thinks, oh, fasting's easy. The trick with fasting is how you then refeed, how
how do you
you
break?
then
Yeah,
reintroduce foodstuffs and what foodstuffs.
yeah,
So like I'm on a what am I at the moment? I'm on 24 hours. I'm going through, I'm either doing a 36 or 48. I'll probably do a 48. Mostly because I want to reset my gut microbiome and my internal functioning, because I'm going to take myself off dairy food. I don't drink milk, but I do have like full double cream, like from the dairy cream that has no additives in it. And I do like a teaspoon of that in my coffee.
mm.
Um, but it means I'm going to have to go off butter as well. And I'm like,
Oh
okay.
God, I can't do that. Sorry, you're on your own.
I'm just going to see how it goes. I don't know if I'll be able to stick with it, but it helps to reset things.
Yeah,
But for Nancy, I would say, depending on what part of your cycle you're in, if you make sure you take your electrolytes, which can be just, pink Himalayan salt in water,
yeah.
preferably you want some sort of good electrolyte,
She
and
hasn't had
magnesium.
her cycle for 6 months, so she's not sure where she would have been in that. So yeah.
And yeah. And sometimes you can do it with your AO scanner, like, you can, when they talk about checking your own hormones, do a protocol for, I would say, 5 days. They do talk about it just being 3 days, but do a protocol for 5 days and run that body, the hormone panel in your body systems 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night, just so that you can see if there's any areas to show you where it's changing. Because even having a blood test doesn't help. Like, the ranges that they have for the blood tests for progesterone, for estrogen, for testosterone, if they happen to actually do it, as you,
Oh,
I
I'll
want to
have
say,
one tomorrow.
you may as well run the panels and see what variation you've got in those hormones. So, because estrogen will be higher technically in the first part of your cycle. You do have estrogen in the second part, but your progesterone should be higher. And if they're all low for the whole 5 days, maybe extend it. Like, you could you've already got the scanner, do it 28 days, and just see what it's like looking. Maybe draw a graph of it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Maria just asked what you said to run 3 times a day. So that's the hormone panel, Maria, in body systems. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, we are at 8:15, so I think we'll call it here unless anyone has any more questions. But thank you so much. That was fabulous. It was really, really good. So I'll definitely be watching that one again because to take in a bit more information. Michelle, where can people find you if they want more info from you, love? I mean, they can find you in the Frequency Soul Collective chat, obviously, but yeah.
My business is Soulful Wisdoms.
Yeah.
So soulfulwisdoms.com.au or
I'm just putting that in there.
Facebook and Insta. I'm not big on Insta. I'm more of a Facebook girl, but that's
me
just
too.
me.
Soulfulwisdoms.com.au.
Yep.
Beautiful. I've just popped that in the chat, guys. Oh God, I spelt it wrong. Don't put soul. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, I need to go to bed. Here we go. I'll try that again. Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, everyone can catch Michelle obviously in our Frequency Soul Collective chat as well. So reach out if you have any questions. But thank you all for being on tonight. What an incredible talk. And yes, so very, very grateful to you, Michelle, for all of your knowledge. And yes, I